You know those massive container ships that power our entire global economy? Well, they're facing an even bigger challenge, cleaning up their environmental act. Today, we're going to take a look at how one of the world's largest shipping lines, CMA CGM, is charting a course to net zero carbon. All right, let's get into it. So here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with the sheer scale of the problem. Then we'll dive into the blueprint for change, everything from future fuels to smarter ships. We're also going to look at the real-world costs because, this isn't free, and how this whole journey involves pretty much everyone, right down to us, the consumers. All right, so first up, let's really frame the challenge here. And trust me, it's one of the biggest industrial transformations of our time. This is the central question, isn't it? Shipping is basically the circulatory system of global commerce. It's essential to almost everything we buy, use, and eat. But it comes with a pretty significant carbon footprint. The task ahead isn't just about tweaking a few things here and there. We're talking about completely reimagining how this entire system is powered. And this number just perfectly illustrates the stakes. A staggering 90% of everything travels by sea. Now, it's actually the most efficient way to move goods per ton, but because of the incredible volume, the industry as a whole is a major emitter. So getting this sector to zero emissions isn't just a nice idea, it's absolutely critical if we want to meet our global climate goals. So how does a massive company like CMA CGM even begin to tackle something this huge? Well, they've laid out a really ambitious blueprint, moving from just acknowledging the problem to taking serious action. And here's their roadmap. What's important here is that they're not just aiming for some distant goal in 2050. They've set these aggressive intermediate targets, a 30% cut in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, and then a huge 80% cut by 2040. That all leads up to net zero by the middle of the century. It really creates accountability all along the way. And they are putting some serious money behind this, a $1.5 billion fund called Pulse, and it's dedicated entirely to speeding up this energy transition over the next 5 years. So this isn't just some pledge, it's a massive capital investment designed to kickstart actual, real-world projects. And the fund itself is structured as this comprehensive, four-pronged attack. The first pillar, it's all about developing the new fuels we're going to need. The second focuses on the ground game, making ports and warehouses energy self-sufficient. The third is for R&D, the really cutting-edge tech. And the fourth is about boosting efficiency across the entire company. It's a really holistic approach. Okay, let's dig into the fuel itself. Because at the end of the day, the heart of this problem is what you put in the engine. And this is where the complexity just skyrockets. For decades, ships have run on this heavy, sludgy fuel oil that's packed with pollutants. The shift is already happening with liquefied natural gas, or LNG. And the difference is just stark. Using LNG dramatically improves air quality by slashing pollutants like sulfur and nitrogen oxides. Now, it's still a fossil fuel, let's be clear, but it's being used as this critical bridge, a transitional step that delivers huge benefits right now while even cleaner technologies get ready. And that's the crucial part. The ships being built today to run on LNG are designed to be future-ready. So the same engine can burn biomethane, which comes from waste and cuts emissions by over 2/3. And after that, they can use e-methane, a synthetic, totally carbon-neutral fuel made from green hydrogen and captured CO2. This shows a clear, phased pathway from today's best option to tomorrow's zero-carbon solution. But here's the thing, no single company can solve this alone. It's just too big. That's why you're seeing fierce competitors like CMA CGM and Maersk actually collaborating. As their CEO, Rodolphe Saudet, says here, this is a milestone. They're working together to set standards for new fuels and to push regulators for ambitious global rules. It's a classic case of a challenge being too big for anyone to go it alone. But decarbonization isn't just about fuel. True sustainability means you have to look at the entire operation and its impact on the planet. This is the work smarter, not just harder part of the strategy. They're using AI to plot the most fuel-efficient routes. They're applying high-tech paint to help ships glide through the water more easily, and even installing these giant windshields to cut down on wind resistance. And the effort doesn't stop at the water's edge. On land, they're shifting 70% of road traffic to less carbon-intensive rail and barges, and covering their warehouses with solar panels. Every single bit of efficiency counts. And the vision extends beyond just carbon into protecting the very oceans they operate on. This means doing things like rerouting ships to avoid whale migration paths, actively restoring coral reefs, and installing these artificial nurseries called biohuts in ports. They've also taken a really firm stand by stopping the transport of plastic waste, making sure they're not contributing to that global crisis. Okay, so this all sounds great, but who pays for this massive transition? Let's talk about the economic reality of it all. A huge driver of change is regulation, like the European Union's emissions trading system. It's basically a cap and trade market for carbon. Think of it like this. A limit, or a cap, is set on total emissions. Companies then have to buy allowances for every ton of CO2 they produce. As the number of available allowances shrinks each year, the price goes up. This system is a total game changer because, for the first time, it puts a hard, rising cost on carbon pollution for shipping, forcing the entire industry to factor climate impact into their bottom line. And this slide right here makes that cost tangible for everyone. This is the direct financial consequence. To comply with that EU system, shipping lines have to buy those carbon allowances. And that cost, it gets passed on as a surcharge. So for example, a standard container going from Asia to North Europe could see a €25 surcharge. It makes the abstract idea of a price on carbon very, very real. So this brings us to the final and maybe most crucial piece of the puzzle. Decarbonization has to be a shared effort. It just has to be. To make this a truly collective journey, CMA CGM launched a program called Act Plus. It allows their customers, the companies that are actually shipping their goods, to actively participate. They can measure their own carbon footprint, they can help fund the shift to cleaner fuels, and they can offset whatever emissions are left. And this isn't just about, planting a few trees somewhere. Customers can invest in a whole portfolio of high-impact, certified projects all over the world. We're talking about large-scale mangrove restoration in Pakistan, protecting huge swaths of rainforest in Brazil, and supporting sustainable forest management right in the United States. It directly connects the simple act of shipping a container to positive environmental action worldwide. At the end of the day, it's a recognition that the shipping industry doesn't exist in a vacuum. Its future is completely inseparable from the health of the oceans it travels on and the planet it serves. The goal here is to transform the whole system from one that just uses the ocean as a highway to one that actively contributes to its preservation. So, we end up right back where we started, with this fundamental question. The path is incredibly complex, the costs are very real, and success is going to require unprecedented collaboration. But the blueprint is there. The question now is whether the world's most powerful engine of commerce can actually be re-engineered to power a truly sustainable future.